Hey everyone, welcome to the Christmas Fair. So today's episode is going to be a little different than the regular content that I bring you as far as showing you items that are related to Christmas. Today's topic is going to be talking about grief and loss during the Christmas and holiday season. So my goal for this video is to share things that have helped us during hard times of losing a family member or a loved one. And in this section of the screen, I'm going to be showing you things that we've done as a family to help with our losses during the holiday season. And at the end of the video and in the description box, I'm also going to be listing some places that you can contact if you're struggling with mental health, or if towards the holidays it's a little bit difficult for you because you've lost a loved one. I'm going to be adding that information as well. So I just want to also start by saying I am not a counselor, I'm not a mental health professional. I just wanted to share what has worked for our family when we have dealt with grief and loss. Our family has had some losses over the last few years. Like many other families, people have lost grandparents, parents, siblings. For us, back in 2017, we lost our youngest daughter, Darcy, to stillbirth. And it was extremely traumatic and a horrible experience that our family went through. But we, after the first few months of trying to come out of that experience, we decided to start a community organization called the Darcy Project. And through that organization, we're not a nonprofit, we hope to get there someday. But through the organization that we run, we do offer things to the community. So we do a walk in October in honor of Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. It's an internationally recognized month. We also do things such as Easter basket drives. We do book drives around Christmas time. We've done back to school drives, toy drives. So we have tried to put a positive spin on our loss experience, and we've been doing it for about 8 years. She would have been 8 this year. But for us, it was our way of trying to deal with the grief, but in a positive outlet. So it's very hard for some people after a loss, especially the loss of a child, to recoup and rebound from that. It still does take a toll on me today and my husband. We will get hit different times a year with grief, and that's a totally normal thing, even if you're 1 month out or you're 20 years out. We've had people that have come to our walk before and have told us that they lost a child 30 years ago and they've first decided to talk about it at the walk. So I think as far as reaching out to the community, you can do that on any level. You do not have to have a organization set up. You can just, you yourself or you and your household can take up a collection for anything in the community. You can take up a collection for a school, church, preschool, pet shelter if you want. So I'm going to go through a couple ideas and tell you things that have worked for us. Some of them might seem a little odd, and that's okay. My theory is that if you're dealing with grief and you're trying to find an outlet for that grief, if it's not harming you or harming somebody else, I think that as long as it's something positive and it's not bringing anything that can be dangerous to you, it's okay to do it. So if you feel like writing in a journal is weird, that's okay. As long as it feels comfortable to you and you're safe and other people around you are safe, it's okay if something that you're trying to help with your grieving feels odd. That's a normal thing, because I've tried many different things through grief, and so has my husband. And it feels kind of odd at first when we try something new, whether it's writing in a journal or listening to a song or even ugly crying. Those are things that all work for us, and you can do it in the privacy of your own home. It doesn't have to be announced to anybody. But just know that people grieve in different ways. So the first thing I want to touch on is it's okay to ugly cry. It is completely okay if you're in your home or in your car and you feel a wave of grief coming over you. Ugly crying is sometimes the best thing that you can do to release that grief. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she mentioned that she was in her bed, really had a hard time getting out, and she just decided to ugly cry. She literally set a timer on her phone and just decided to ugly cry for an hour. Now for me, the emotions tend to hit me around Christmas time. It's usually Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. I will get a wave of emotions that will come over me. We also lost my dad back in 2023 at the very young age of 61. So that is something I've been having to deal with, the loss of a parent. But what helps me is ugly crying. As weird as it sounds, just kind of, sometimes a song will do it, or sometimes I'll purposely turn on a song if I've been thinking about them or I'm feeling emotional about them. And then sometimes the ugly crying will just come about if I hear something that reminds me of him. Again, that type of thing is okay, and it's natural for you to feel the grief, even if it's not right after the loss of somebody. So another idea that we have is creating a candle. So I will insert a picture here. We do have a custom candle that was made when our daughter passed. You can find these anywhere online. This one was given to us by the funeral home when we were setting up her arrangements. So for us, we light this candle usually every holiday. So Easter, Thanksgiving, on Halloween, and Christmas. We tend to light this candle when we're eating dinner, and we let it burn for maybe an hour or so. If you have lots of kids and pets around, you can always do a flameless candle insert on the inside. Usually we're with the candle when we're burning it, so we usually will just let it burn. But that's something that might be peaceful for you, is lighting a candle around the holidays. Another idea that I have for you is creating a holiday scrapbook. So I will show you guys here. We have this scrapbook. This is more in general for our whole family at Christmas. This has pictures of our children that are still with us, and it has pictures of past Christmases from when, they were little. And it's just something that if you have a family member that you've lost that was able to be around, like our youngest daughter was not, so we don't have Christmases with her. But if you have a grandparent or a parent and you want to remember them, you can always create a scrapbook specifically for Christmas. So if you find Christmas very hard, or even in general, if you just want to look at it all around. I specifically thought holiday scrapbook because if you have past Christmases with people, it might be nice to have something to look at that is based on Christmas, but you can certainly do a scrapbook for any time of year. I did create a photo album for my dad, which I'll also show you, and that one is just general pictures of my dad when he was younger and pictures of him as an adult. But that was something that was really helpful for me shortly after my dad passed away, and I received all of his items and had to go through everything. So with that one, I was able to make a scrapbook slash photo album that has really helped me in the last couple years while dealing with that grief. So I mentioned this earlier, I believe, and one thing that you can do and that we have done in memory of our daughter is taking up a collection for the community. So we've done everything from toy drives to book drives to Easter basket drives, and we also hold a walk in October. So for that, we just take up collections of snacks and drinks. We're not a nonprofit, so we try not to accept anything monetary, but you can certainly do this in memory of somebody. So if you have an aunt that passed away, or a mom or a dad, and they loved animals, you can take up a collection and donate it around Christmas time to your local animal shelter. Or something I also learned recently was a lot of the local food cupboards will take pet food donations. So a lot of times people that are going to the food cupboard because they are having trouble affording groceries or are on public assistance and need that assistance, a lot of times they have pets and they're always looking for pet food donations. So that's another idea. As far as the collections go, we have had a lot of luck using something like an Amazon link, so people can send us items that we will take up for the collection. And then we kind of do an unboxing and share it on our social media page. We do have the Darcy Project on social media. So for that, we will do an Amazon link. And then we've also had, local family and friends that have donated as well. And we tend to share that on Facebook. But that's something that I love sharing at the end of the collection that we're taking, the amount of items that were donated. And I think the highest we've ever had was for one of our book drives, we had 135 books donated. Now, a lot of that is from family, friends, and things that were shipped to us, but then I would say probably half of that was things that I found on clearance and after holiday sales. I was able to find a lot of books for 50 cents to $1. And even the dollar store had quite a few that we were able to include in the donation. So that's something that can also put it in a positive light and help you to feel like you've accomplished something as far as that grief and getting to be able to do something positive for that person. Another idea that I have for you is volunteering. So if you're not someone that wants to do the collection or do some of the other things I mentioned, you can always find a place to volunteer. So think of an interest that the person had or might have had that you can volunteer at, whether it's an animal shelter. I think some of the hospitals still accept volunteers. Even local community organizations are always looking for volunteers, Boys and Girls Club. But that's something that you can do as well, is taking time out of your day or out of your schedule, or even somewhere like the open door mission shelters. Some of those around the holidays will accept people to help in the kitchen and help with food. So volunteering is another great way to help push your grief in a positive direction. Another thing that I've seen, there was another family that has the Purple Light Project, and they lost their daughter Macy. And I saw in one of the parks nearby, I believe that they were the family I saw that had planted a local tree at a park. So this is something that you can contact your local Parks and Recreation department and see if you can plant a tree in their honor. And if I can find a picture, I'll insert it here. But I know with Macy, they have done a few different things for the community. But I love that they had the idea of planting a tree. I never would have thought of that, but that's something that you can visit. And a lot of times they'll also let you put a plaque there of who it's in memory of. And along with the idea of the tree, I've also seen around town people donating money or purchasing a bench to put into a local park or a local playground. So I think that's another great way to remember somebody, is by making a bench or being able to purchase a bench to be donated. So another idea is you can collect ornaments for that person. So with my dad, we had a couple ornaments that were his when we were able to go through his items. And then for my daughter, we collect an ornament every Christmas in her memory. So she has quite a few ornaments that we've collected over the years, and we tend to do a mini tree for her, and I will show you guys some examples here. But with the ornaments, they're very inexpensive. You can usually find them everywhere at Christmas time. But you can also do custom ornaments. A lot of times online, you can just type in custom Christmas ornaments, and believe me, stuff will pop up. So that's another idea that's very inexpensive. I think with the ornaments, it's nice too, because if you know somebody that lost a loved one, for me, it was so nice to receive a named ornament from somebody else, because it was telling me that other people were thinking of my daughter instead of just me at Christmas time. So having a personalized ornament with their name on it means so much to people. Now, if you're not sure and you feel uncomfortable with that kind of thing, you can always reach out to people. A lot of times when people are grieving, it's, at least for me, it feels worse when there's no acknowledgement at all. So for people that are grieving, sometimes it's okay to just send a text and say, hey, I'd like to get you a gift in memory of so-and-so. Would it be okay if I got you a personalized gift or some type of gift in memory of so-and-so? And you can leave it at that. I think it's very polite to do that, and I think sometimes that little bit of acknowledgement lets them know that you haven't forgot about the loved one that they've lost. But ornaments are a great inexpensive idea for the holidays to try and remember someone that you've lost. Another idea that I have is making that person's favorite recipe. So we have an aunt that we lost, her name was Sue, and she absolutely made the best peanut butter blossom cookies. I will insert a picture here. She made those from scratch. So we, every Christmas, will make a recipe of the peanut butter blossoms. We do the Betty Crocker shortcut, but that's something that we like to do each holiday season because it reminds us of Aunt Sue. She was always the one that loved to host parties, and she also made the best homemade mashed potatoes, which we've also tried to do, but we can't seem to replicate it exactly the same way. But that's another thing that you can do around the holidays, is have their favorite recipe, make that recipe, and you're thinking of that person during that time. And I also love that when you're making it, you know, we've brought that recipe to other parties and they're like, hey, Aunt Sue used to make those. And we say, yep, that's exactly why we made them, because it reminds us of her during the holidays. So a recipe is an easy way, and it's also puts a fun spin on grief as well. I know that kind of sounds weird to say, but it puts a different spin on grieving instead of just feeling sad about it. It's, you know, you're creating something, making something in memory of that person. So another idea is when you are celebrating the holidays, whether it's Christmas or another holiday, is if it's a person that was able to be here with you for a long time and they had family traditions, try to carry out those traditions with your family. So for us, at least for me, when I was a kid, we would open one gift on Christmas Eve. It was me, my mom, and dad. I was an only child, but I carried that tradition on with my kids, even when they were little, before my dad passed away. But I think for our family, we did that from when they were little, and then we still continue it now, even after he's passed away. But it's something on Christmas that reminds me of Dad and lets me know, we're still thinking of him, but it's something fun for the kids. But it also reminds us, hey, this is a tradition that this family member had, and we absolutely love that tradition. It makes it a lot more fun. On Christmas Eve, they get to open one gift. Usually mom and dad pick the gift that they open, but sometimes we let them pick at random. So one thing that has really helped me, I only did it once, but shortly after I lost my daughter, I was keeping a journal. So for me, journaling was super helpful in the beginning of our loss. And basically what I did was I wrote down my whole experience from the day we found out that she had, actually, I think I started it with the beginning of my pregnancy. But when we were having a lot of complications and we ended up losing her, I was keeping, shortly after delivery, I kept a very detailed journal of everything I was feeling and everything that had happened. Now, if it was a different situation, we don't know exactly how everyone has lost somebody. Maybe it was very tragic or it's too hard to relive, that's okay. But for me, it was very helpful to keep a journal and to write down everything that I experienced and everything I was feeling at that time. And I have not read it since then. I wrote everything down, closed it, and it's in our file cabinet. So I don't ever have to look back at it, but it felt like a lot of weight was lifted off of me because I was able to express those emotions in writing versus keeping them bottled up in my head or trying to explain them to my therapist at the time or trying to relive it and go over it with my husband. So I think as far as the journaling, it's totally up to you. At least for me, it was very helpful to keep that journal in the beginning of grief. Like I said, I haven't touched it since, but in the beginning, it was one of the best things I think I could have done for myself. So one thing that I have also learned, this was more in recent years, and I heard the quote originally from, I'm a 90s kid, but I remember watching an interview from Mary-Kate and Ashley, and then more recently Elizabeth Olsen, which if you know me in real life, you know I'm a huge WandaVision and Marvel DC fan. But besides that, one thing that they said as siblings, the three of them, is that no is a full sentence. So one thing that they were talking about was if they didn't want to do something or didn't want to participate, you're allowed to say no. So you don't have to feel pressured during the holidays to attend every activity, every gathering, especially when you're grieving. It's okay to say no, I can't make it, or no, I'm not able to come. Or if it's in text, just no. Just try to remember that to protect your own peace and just try to deal with what you're dealing with, it's okay to say no, and no is a full sentence. So another idea that we have done, this one wasn't so much around the holidays, but it was more around her birthday. But it definitely could be something that you could do around the holidays, is we built a little library at our old house. So the little library, that was something that was super fun to do with my husband in her memory. We were able to register it on the little library website as well, so it was part of the map if people are looking for little libraries. So with that, it was really nice to be able to create something out of grief and have it be a finished product to see at the end. So with the little library, it was super fun. It was pretty inexpensive. We got a lot of the wood from Home Depot or Lowe's. But I think as far as if you're a very hands-on person, or someone is going through something but is very handy or good at woodworking, a little library is a perfect way to go. So another thing that I want to add into this is if you know somebody who has suffered a loss, whether it's a child or miscarriage or a husband, a sibling, anything like that, is to please check in on them. A lot of times people will show not a lot of emotions, not a lot of grief during the holidays and just year round, and you'll think everything's okay. But a lot of times there are people that are struggling and that just want to be checked in on. So if you know somebody that has lost a loved one, whether it's within the last couple weeks, couple months, maybe a year or two, just check in. You can always send a text. It doesn't have to be in person if that makes you uncomfortable, but you can always just check in and say, hey, I hope you're well. Just do what feels comfortable to you, but to just maybe send a text message or chat with them and say, hey, I just want to see how you're doing with this, because that really a lot of times will mean the world to somebody. A friend of mine recently lost her brother, and one idea that she had, and I was talking to her on the phone the other day, and she mentioned that this sounds really weird, but she said for a little while she did not want to leave his ashes along with her sister-in-law. She did not want to leave his ashes alone. They felt very strange leaving his ashes home alone. So one thing that they did was they took the container of ashes and they put it in the passenger seat, buckled it in, and they just were able to keep their brother, her brother, and her sister-in-law's husband. He was always with somebody shortly after he passed. I don't think they do that anymore, but it was when they were in the height of the grief and still trying to cope with it. They just kind of brought his ashes when they were running errands, not into the store, but kept them in the vehicle for him. That might sound odd to people, but if it works for them, it's not harming them, it's not harming anybody else, but it helps their grief, that is okay. And another thing I want to add is a lot of people that I've chatted with, on social media, not everybody has a huge family, or sometimes their pets are their family. All of these ideas can work for pets too. So you can always get a custom candle for a pet. You can make a photo album for a pet. You can take up a collection for a pet. All of these things that I've talked about are things that you can also do in memory of a pet. So we have fur babies. If you've been following me for a while, I do have a Meet Our Fur Babies video. I'll try to link it below for you. Our pets are very important to us. We love our rescues. And it is very hard when you lose a pet because they are like family. So I just wanted to put that little tidbit in here to let you know that if you don't have a huge family, or your pets really are your family, and having that loss of a pet is similar to losing a person, all of these ideas can work perfectly and help you with that grief during the loss of a pet. One more idea that I have for you is listening to that person's favorite Christmas or holiday song. For me, the song that I listen to that reminds me of my dad is not necessarily Christmas, but I love listening to Take Me Home, Country Road by John Denver. Both my parents are from Southern West Virginia, and that song just reminds me of my dad and visiting West Virginia with him, and just the memories of, when he was alive and all the stories he would tell of where he used to live. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I know this is not the normal content that I bring you, and it was a little bit more on the sad side, but I know that there are a lot of people who have lost loved ones, whether it's right around Christmas time, which is what happened with my dad, or whether it's in the springtime like it was with my daughter. Losing somebody any time of year, or a pet any time of year, is difficult. But I feel like during the holidays, that's when a lot of people seem to be struggling with the loss of a loved one. So I did want to at least acknowledge that. You can always reach out to me on the social platforms. I'm happy to reminisce with you about someone that you love that you've lost. But I will put some information down below too, as far as mental health hotlines, and just some information in case you feel like you need to speak to a mental health professional about your own well-being. I will see you guys in the next episode, and Merry Christmas.